Welcome back, everybody, to the HorrorScope Show. I'm your host, Hunter the Hitman Chambliss. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Notorious Russell Howell. How's it going, man?
Good man. Glad to two in a row here. So
Two in a row.
we're starting a streak here, but looking forward to starting to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 3: The Dream Warriors. It's been a couple years since I've revisited it, so it's always a good film to go back to and check on. So yeah, looking forward to talking about it.
Definitely. This was my first watch of this film, surprisingly. I've heard great things about it. And spoilers, this might be one of my favorites in the series.
You're
Ooh.
crazy. You're crazy. I get. I think it's just a shock of watching this for the first time, but I always
Maybe.
I think the before is the best. I mean, it's the original. I just don't think it gets any better.
I mean, we can definitely talk about that after we get through the summary and everything like that, because I do have some points I want to bring up as to why I like it better than the original,
That's
just
fine.
slightly. So let's get into the rundown summary. So, Russ, take it away. This is your movie.
Yeah, so I guess this takes place. I'm reading from the Wikipedia. I guess it takes a place after a year after the previous events from the last film. But
Mm,
we see Kristen Parker. She's played by Patricia Arquette. She pretty much has a dream where obviously Freddy is trying to kill her. So her parents think that she's nuts. So they commit her to Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital, and that's where she kind of meets her other people like Kincaid and others. Um, and pretty much that's where they run back into Nancy or Heather Langenkamp's character Nancy comes back into the picture, but
mhm.
it's pretty much her and these others battling Freddy Krueger and pretty much using their each of them have their own little, I guess, superpowers you would call it near the end of the film to try to defeat Freddy Krueger. They all have to pretty much team up together to defeat Freddy Krueger. But yeah, I mean that's just like a watered down general version of the film. Like I said, it's pretty much Kristen's character is committed to this psychiatric ward, and other people that are deemed crazy or whatever are pretty much trying to fend off Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, pretty much that's it. Nice, clean rundown summary. So my first watch through, the one thing I love about it is how quick the movie starts.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a short runtime. You figure it's only like an hour and a half, hour and
Yeah,
25 minutes. Like it's a short run. But watching it again, it's kind of crazy to realize how much that Freddy isn't in the movie.
yeah,
Um, you don't get really a whole lot of screen time with Robert Englund, and it's kind of crazy. I didn't like watching these movies, revisiting these films. It's kind of hard to believe that he doesn't have that much runtime in the film because you would think, oh, he's the main character. He's going to be in this film a lot. He's really not, though.
yeah. And that's kind of what I like about it. I like the fact that
Yeah,
they stripped back the idea of you don't have to see Freddy all the time
yeah.
when he shows up. In every scene he shows up in, it's effective because they do something really, really cool in the dreamscape that he's in, which I
Yeah,
love.
well, because they obviously did the second film had to do with like inhabiting someone else's body.
Yeah,
That's where they kind of they did that, so they wanted to be different. And I think this is where we actually go into the dreams. This is where we kind of experience. We kind of actually we kind of actually go through this a little bit more. We dig a little deeper through the rabbit hole of actually going through the dream and meeting up with Freddy Krueger.
yeah. So let's talk about kind of I guess the ensemble
Hmm.
cast.
Yeah.
'Cause you've got
You got a young Lawrence Fishburne. They actually have him in the credits as Larry Fishburne,
Larry Fishburne. I saw that.
which I think was kind of funny.
It's great. You have
Many less pounds ago because he looks like ultra thin in this. Then, like I said,
yeah.
Patricia Arquette.
Mm,
You have John Saxon, Heather Langenkamp's father from the first one.
yep.
A small cameo at the back end of the film. Obviously, you have Heather Langenkamp, and I like the doctor, the main doctor. I can't
Dr.
remember his name.
Neil Gordon.
Yeah, I like his character too.
Yeah. But like the actual teams involved, you've got Ronnie Eastman as Joey,
Hmm.
uh, Je- Jennifer Rubin as Taryn White, which
Yeah,
she might be one of my favorite characters in this movie.
she's the one with the mohawk, right? Is
Yeah,
she the one with the
in the
mohawk?
dream
Yeah,
sequence, she
yeah.
has the punk rocker.
Yeah, and then you have Kincaid. I like Kincaid's character. They bring him back, and they bring Patricia Arquette's character back in the next one, but it's not Patricia Arquette. They cast somebody else for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that dude's name? Is it Kid or King?
Kincaid.
Oh, Kincaid. Okay, Roland.
Kincaid. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so he's really good too. He has really good comedic timing in this movie.
Yeah.
Kind of like the like the scene when they're talking about the like Freddy and putting him to sleep. He's like, "Fuck you! I'm not going to sleep."
Yeah. I mean, because these guys don't really know like Nancy knows, and I think Patricia Arquette's character are the only ones that really have a feel of what the hell is actually goes on when you dream and stuff like that. So they know the repercussions of it. So I think that those two characters are a little bit more knowledgeable.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do love about this movie is that they it takes place in a mental hospital.
Yeah, like a psychiatric hospital,
a psychiatric ward. So you're not sure, or at least the characters aren't sure if what they're seeing is really what they're seeing, or if it's a manifestation of being in this place that could really fuck with people.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing. It's like, well, if they say that they're saying this, well, they're deemed crazy. You know what I mean? So I like that because they also do that with Patricia Arquette's character. They just deem her crazy and they don't even pay attention to her when really she's really not crazy. But that's just so be it. I mean, that's the problem that you have when your parents put you in a psychiatric ward.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to favorite moments / favorite death scenes. And since this is your movie, Russ, we will start with you.
I'll go right out of the gate. I think it's the first one, the Sleepwalker. I think with Freddy having him as a puppeteer, I think it's
as a marionette puppet.
Yeah, and I think that's just really cool and really effective. I like the feel of it. I like how when you're seeing him on the surface, he looks like he's just like sleepwalking, and nobody can really see. But then on the flip side of it, you can actually see like his his I don't know what you would go, not his veins or his arteries or whatever being pulled out from him, and Freddy pretty much manipulating him like a puppet. I think that's just like one of the ones that kind of stick with you in this movie. It's just the death scene that really stays with you. I would say that would be my favorite death scene by far. Yeah.
If I had to pick one that's different than that one, because that one probably is my all-time favorite, just because of how effective and like psychologically scarring that one is.
I mean, it's just one that you always think of when you think of this film. I think of that one, and I also think of the television one, which I think was hilarious. I mean, it's a funny one.
That's the one I'm gonna go with.
Yeah.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big
break or something.
Breaking TV.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like when you see her in there, there's nothing on there, so you really can't even say she committed suicide because there's no possible way.
Yeah, there's no way she
put her head through a television.
Yeah,
which I think was kind of funny. Like there was no chair or anything like that. Like there was literally nothing there, so something had to have happened to get her.
But just
the television.
Just the iconic line of "It's your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch."
I mean, he has a lot of good ones in this one. I think this is where they really just let Robert Englund have some fun with the character. I mean, even the back end of the film where he's like, "I don't believe in magic" or whatever. When
sorry, I don't believe in magic.
Yeah,
and it just stabs him.
Yeah, or like when he's like making fun of the fact that the one girl had a drug problem and he has all these needles on his hand.
All the needles.
So say hi to an old friend or whatever.
Old friend. Yeah. And then her.
Oh, what a rush.
Yeah, her scars.
Her scars like bubble up or like pulse up like they're like alive pretty much, which is again there's like a lot of good visuals in this film for again being in the late 80s. I mean it's good. I mean there's some there's some cheap effects where you see some green screen effects, but I think for the most part, it's fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Any favorite moments you want to talk about in this movie?
I always think back to the carpet scene. That carpet scene always sticks in my head. It's not
it's so good.
Scene, but it's one of those ones where you always think like it's almost like him engulfing her like a snake, pretty much.
Yeah,
like, trying to swallow her in.
During the final like 30 minutes where they're in like the dreamscape. Yeah,
that was at the beginning. This one's at the beginning. Remember when it's like a big head Freddy?
Yeah,
the mirror or whatever. I think that scene's kind of fun. I don't know. I'm trying to think other favorite moments that I like. I like when obviously the end end of the film when they all go in to try to rescue Patricia Arquette's character.
Yeah.
Or no. They try to rescue Patricia Arquette's character, but they're also trying to rescue the one that's tied up to the bedpost by the tongues.
Yeah, so it's what's his name?
I can't think of his name because these are these small
I think it's
characters.
Joey.
Yeah, it is Joe. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, Joey.
But they're trying to rescue him. I think that's kind of a fun scene. I mean, pretty much, I like we're getting a little bit more of the backstory with characters and stuff like that. We're getting a little bit more time with them. Like I said, I like Heather Langenkamp coming back as Nancy. I think that's really fun. I think that's a callback, obviously, to the original. I think it's really nice that they kind of didn't forget about her character.
Yeah.
And even John Saxon's character, her dad in the film. I think that's a really cool cameo near the back end of the film. You can kind of see what the effects of the first movie had on him coming into the third.
Well,
film.
him and Nancy.
Yeah, because they're pretty much both on these. You figure she's taking this trial drug that's really suppressing you from having dreams that she actually wants that other doctor to kind of try to prescribe or give to the other people so that they can kind of have their dreams suppressed so that they don't have to really wrestle with how she's wrestling with the ripple effects of the first film. And then you see John Saxon's character is an alcoholic. He's trying to pretty much forget about all this stuff. He lost his wife, his daughter and him have probably a ripple in their relationship. So you can see the effects of the first film on that too.
Yeah. So one thing I love is how the ideology battle between Gordon and I believe her name is Dr. Sims.
Okay, yeah.
How Gordon wants to believe in these kids, believe that they can be saved and believe that they are actually seeing things, and then you have what really a lot of us would do in that situation. It'd be like, no, they're here for a reason. We have to make sure they're safe. We have to make sure that we put them, give them sedation to make sure that they don't hurt anybody or themselves, especially after the suicide of what was it? Will the marionette.
Oh marionette, yeah, I think it's Will. I am not 100% sure. But no, I think the honestly the biggest character in this though is Nancy because Nancy really helps the doctor kind of rationale this and understand that Nancy can kind of see this stuff. So she kind of she's a little bit more experienced than him in this realm. And I think that's where I like the back and forth between them because I think that she really kind of convinces him, oh yeah, well maybe she does have a point here. Let's give it a try. Other kids' lives are at stake.
Yeah.
And why not do this as opposed to just straight not believing the kids and letting them die off? Again, with Joey's character, I guess the one with the puppet at the beginning of the film, they pretty much didn't really do anything there. So that was their thing. We're shit, we're losing people because after what's the chick's name from with the head in the television?
Jennifer.
After those two die, it's we're losing too many people. We have to do something about this. And I think that's where the doctor really steps in and kind of is shit, we really have to do something.
Which the one thing that kind of made me laugh was the fact that they still counted Jennifer's death as a suicide.
Yeah, which
because he was there's two suicides and a murder.
Clearly, obviously, I think Joey's a little bit more believable where he jumps from the bell tower.
But you tell me she somehow.
There's no way she jumped in that television, and she was short to begin with. On top of it, there's no prop to get her up there. There's no way.
There's no chair, no nothing. She just
yeah. They really didn't think it through, but I guess disposition of belief. I guess you just have to kind of suspend that.
Yeah. Let's see. I do love how they kind of tie it into the original. How it's the reason why Freddy's coming after these kids is because they're the last surviving kids of Elm Street.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that they kind of explain that he's using souls for energy. Mm-hmm. So that kind of that ties in. That makes a little bit more sense. I guess if you're stretching this story out, obviously more movies. I guess that's a plausible way. I wish. In hindsight, don't get me wrong. I like the sequels fine. I just think that if it's a standalone horror film, you don't have to really tread back into these make up backstories to explain this. You know what I mean? I think you could just leave it as the first one and just be done with it. But with the success of it, I mean, Craven and I guess they had, it's about money, and this movie did well too. I think this movie budgeted like $4.5–5 million, and I think it ended up making like $45 million. So this movie was definitely a cash cow. And I mean, this franchise obviously in itself kind of, just took off, and they had to, kind of fill in backstory to kind of explain everything. But it's plausible, and it makes sense. These are the last kids from Elm Street. Makes sense. And then
I kind of wish this was the second movie of the series instead of the third one.
The second one was more of I think they kind of rushed the second one out.
It was more of a standalone. It felt like it had nothing to do with the rest of the movies
because it was so different. If you watch Scream Queens, the documentary, I got to meet Mark Patton, who stars in the second film.
Oh, cool!
And I met the two documentary makers. If you watch that as a companion piece with the second one, you kind of realize that like this was kind of almost like a gay horror movie. They kind of really pushed that attraction between Mark Patton's character and Freddy Krueger. And if you look at it as that, it can serve that way. I think this movie was just because even like the kid, he's like kind of like Mark Patton's character is kind of a nerd. He's like almost like you think he's like almost like a virgin. He's never really been with a woman. Like he's like almost closeted gay. I mean, that could work. I mean, like I said, I'd recommend it to you and to the viewers. Like I said, Scream Queens. I got to,
I know it's on Shudder.
It's a really fantastic documentary. It basically just talked about how he couldn't really get work after that movie because I think he was typecast or whatever. Like a lot of you see a lot.
Well,
of
also I think I remember hearing something about it may what was his name, Will Patton? You said
no, Mark Patton.
Mark Patton, sorry.
Yeah.
How it made him kind of feel uncomfortable because he was actually closeted gay in real life.
And he was gay. So I think that was a thing where, I don't know. And again, you're wrestling in the 80s where it's not as open as it is now. Obviously, you had, Freddie Mercury and other people of the 80s and stuff like that come out, with being homosexual and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, getting a little bit of backlash. I think times were a lot different then, but it's a fantastic documentary. I really highly recommend it. Like I said, I got to meet Mark and I got to meet Roman, and I can't think of the other guy's name. The filmmakers that directed the documentary is fantastic. I got to see that, and then they played Nightmare on Elm Street 2 right after it, so it was kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like a companion piece.
Yeah, it was
like
fun.
reason...
Like I said, you have to do that. You have to kind of watch it back and forth because then I think you see things that like when I watched it, when I've seen it numerous times, but then it's like shit. Yeah, it's like I could see where you kind of pick up on the gay undertones of the second one. I think that's why this one kind of just was like completely different from that. I think it was kind of going back to the first one, kind of trying to tie the loose ends that the second one kind of like was out there a little bit, but still had that. There's still some great scenes with Freddy Krueger in the film.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that the movie's not good.
Oh no, yeah.
I think I've seen it. I just don't remember a lot about it. I'm just saying, like, looking at it as in like how they would connect to each other.
Oh, yeah.
I would like if this one was the second one. That way you could watch the first one and then kind of seamlessly transition into the second one.
Yeah.
With them being the last survivors of Elm Street and bringing Nancy back and all that. Wow. It could have tied in more cohesively.
No, I get you. Yeah, and I think again that was more of an experiment / they were kind of under the gun there to put out a sequel.
It kind of seemed like they were trying to do what Halloween 3 was doing, where they were going to be like each Elm Street movie is going to be a different kind of its own story.
Well, if you look at it, I mean, obviously Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and Halloween 3 are the weaker of the franchises. I mean, it's I would maybe compare that to, I mean, I don't even know the Friday the 13th one, maybe it's been a while since I visited them, but the first one, the second one is okay because of the fact that we're introduced that Jason's the killer or his mom was the killer. So, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, but overall, I guess to say with Nightmare on Elm Street 3, to bring it all together, I think it was just more creative the way that they went about this to try to tie the ends, to try to connect it, to have some kind of like coherence, I guess I would say with it, or some kind of like continuity with it.
Yeah. The one thing so going into kind of my favorite moments, I love the scenes where you don't really get Freddy and you don't really get any kill scenes, but you get to kind of connect with all the characters, whether they're
Yeah.
together or separately, where they have their own kind of storylines or issues going on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I like this one a bit more than the first one. Is
Yeah. I
because
mean,
one, it
yeah.
gives you more characters that you care about. Like in the first one, I really only cared about Nancy.
But I think it was supposed to be that way. They weren't keeping those other characters, Glenn and
Fair.
everybody else, like Tina, Glenn, and all those other guys, Rod. You know, those guys were all trying. Those guys were all going to be in this film. This was Nancy's movie from the get go.
Yeah.
And I think to me, it's like she's the only person you care about in this film because that was the only person that they were going to move on with this film. So obviously, to me, it was like, you kind of see the writing on the wall on that one. But I understand what you're saying. There's more character development because there's more characters to choose from. I mean, yeah, you could have gone back into some backstory of Glenn or Tina or Rod to kind of get that,
to give them more fleshed out characters than just he's the jock in prison or he's the boyfriend or she's the cheerleader. Like,
but you didn't need to because Tina was killed off right away, so you don't need to know a little bit more about the story. Just that she's like Nancy's friend, because she wasn't in the movie long. Obviously, she has a boyfriend, Glenn, by Johnny Depp's character, and again, it was one of those ones where obviously they weren't going to further the relationship there. I mean, I guess, so but it was one of those ones where you're sympathetic to Nancy because she lost a boyfriend that she really cared for. And Rod was an ex-criminal who pretty much just dies at the mercy of being in prison and Freddy hanging him. I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know. I guess there's really, I guess you don't have to really build a story with that. The only characters in that film are Nancy and Freddy. Like those are the only backstories you really need, I think, in that film.
Yeah, I mean, now, I'm not saying I hate this movie because the original one, I think.
No. Yeah, no. I mean, it's cool, and like that's why I was like when I messaged you, I was like, you were like, oh, it's my favorite. I'm like, oh man, like I got to go to bat for the '84, man. It's a classic. It's one of my favorites.
Definitely.
But I respect that. I mean, it's cool that you can see something different. To me, I guess I'm just so lost in the first one that I don't really block out anything that everybody else says about all the other films.
Well, also,
it is one of the best sequel out of all the ones that they did. This was probably the better of the sequels for sure.
Oh, definitely. What also helps is I didn't watch these movies till I was a little bit older. So like I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, like I think 3 or 4 years ago, and I just watched this one today. So
I grew up watching.
I didn't grow up on these movies,
and I think that's where I think I have more of a soft spot for these movies because I grew up watching them. I'm watching them at an age where nobody should watch them, but it just really. But this is what kind of created the horror genre and why I love it. I think is just because of the fact that I watched these films. I can compartmentalize when I was younger that like you don't do this stuff. You know what I mean? And it's fun to watch. And I just remember being scared shitless because like Freddy always scared me because he was just so terrifying on screen.
Like you literally can't go to sleep.
And that's again, like I think we've mentioned numerous times. It's like when you're at your most weakest and you're vulnerable is when you're sleeping. Like you just want to go to sleep. Everybody has to do it. And I think that's a beautiful idea to inhabit dreams. I think it's such a creative way that Craven really brought out this character. And I don't know. These sequels are fun. It's fun to kind of revisit these ones and kind of, knowing what you've picked up from the first two films, or even if you use the second film as just like a experiment where you can see that, oh, well, what if Freddy could just randomly, inhabit somebody else's body? I mean, that's scary still. So, but I'm glad to go back to the dream element of this. And obviously the next two movies they used not the next two. They'd use I think Dreams mentioned the Dream Child is 5.
Yeah, so it's Dream Warriors, Dream Child, and
then Dream Master's 4.
Dream Master, Dream Child, and
Dream Child's 5. Yeah. So I like that. Also, special shout out to the hairband Dawkins for Into the Fire and Dream Warriors. Probably two of my favorite songs.
Not gonna lie, as a huge wrestling fan, I've heard that song for the intro for an NWA show called Into the Fire.
Yeah, it's such a good song. It's a fun song. Dream Warriors obviously just has a special spot, obviously because it's the name of the movie. But these are such great songs. They really kind of set set the tone for the film. I mean, Dream Warriors
Yeah,
obviously is what
definitely.
these kids as a cohesive unit are called. Into the Fire is pretty much kind of what they're going into. They're going into
Yeah, they're
the
going straight into the
fire.
fire.
Yeah, so I mean, I really appreciate the music that Doc and lent for these two songs for the
Yeah. I'm
soundtrack.
also like right now, this is my favorite of the series.
Okay.
If I go back and rewatch them, maybe the first one will slightly. Those two
Yeah,
are always going to be back and forth for me.
no, it's fun, and I'm glad were able to watch this for the first time. I think this is what this whole thing's about, like seeing
Yeah,
movies that you haven't seen before, and kind of like I don't know, pushing you to different spots that you've never been to. I think it's fun.
definitely.
That's why we do this. But yeah, no, I the third one I think is definitely the better of the sequels.
I agree.
Yeah,
And like as I was saying, like the reason I love this so much is because, well, the first one you care about Nancy, and that's who you're supposed to care about.
yeah,
This one, they give you a multitude of people you're supposed to care about,
yeah. I
and
mean,
each of them
it's a
you
unit.
do
Yeah,
feel for.
yeah. It's a
You,
unit. Yeah,
you don't want to see them die, and
yeah.
that's what I like about horror movies. I don't like the Friday the 13th where just like, let's throw some horny characters that you don't care about just to watch them get
Yeah.
killed.
I mean, but you know that there's always going to be at least maybe one character, like the chick at the end of Friday the 13th that's in the little
Yeah.
canoe or whatever. I mean, you're going to get those people that survive.
Yeah.
You root for that. I mean, outside of that, though, like if you don't put a whole lot of character development into it, you're not really worried about when they die. I mean, Scream had the opposite because they put too much, they put so much effort into character development, stuff like that with Raven. So you felt the kills. Like when Randy died, it sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you really didn't care when, Billy or Stu died. I mean,
But they were assholes, so who cares?
but still, I mean, you have the back. You've built up a story. So then,
Yeah.
obviously, when you're following through the Scream franchise, you're close to Gail. You're close to Sydney. You're close to Dewey. And that's I think that's more the character development for these films. Like I said, I think this is more. I would say more Patricia Arquette, her film. I think.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's more her and Heather Langenkamp.
Yeah, and which I was kind of really shocked that they killed off Nancy's character. That's the funeral at the end.
Which is why I was saying, like, I kind of feel like if this was, the end of it, so you want to have 1, 2, and 3, this would be a great trilogy.
Yeah.
Because you have, like, Nancy show up, then you have kind of, the second one could be like Freddy just torturing other people around Elm Street.
Yeah.
And then you have the third one, which brings Nancy back, and then you kill her off, and then that's where they should have ended it.
Yeah, I mean, but then she's also back for the New Nightmare. I forget in what capacity, but I think she comes back for
a New Nightmare. She's playing
herself. Yeah,
yeah.
Which I want to revisit that one too eventually because it's been forever since I've seen it. So I kind of probably may just go out on a limb and probably just say that my next films may just follow suit and just go like from there go to 4 to 5 to then maybe revisit 2 after. I it might be boring, perhaps. I don't know, but just to kind of get us to kind of watch that and close that.
Yeah. All right, Russ. So if you're ready to move on to the ratings, so what are we doing for our rating system this week?
Yeah, we're just doing razor gloves. I mean, I think it's simple. It's Freddy Krueger, so you're gonna do your razor blade hands, and I would probably rate this. I would probably say like I'm gonna go 3, just because again, it's far from the perfect film that I think the first one is, but I mean, it's a fun film. It's better, it's the best of. It's probably the better. I have to revisit, but it's probably the best of the sequels. That I remember because I do remember them falling off and getting gradually worse as you got on.
Yeah,
but they're fun films. Again, Freddy Krueger is such an iconic character, and I think to revisit and just have fun with the character. But you realize how short he is he's on film. He's on the he's on camera, and it's kind of crazy. But he just has a fun time playing that character. You can really tell Robert Englund brings a lot of life to the character. I like the fact that this movie allowed him to kind of just be himself and just have more fun with it as it being so serious and like scary in the first one to kind of really dropping that down and kind of just having some fun with it. So I kind of like that aspect of Freddy. But I think that what they do with the third one is they kind of really set it up obviously for more sequels, but they set it up to where it's like, okay, so wait a minute, you can throw holy water and you can do the cross on his his remains, and that affects him in the dream world. But like, I don't know. It's one of those things where you kind of are left wondering a little bit more why. Like, does that really kill Freddy? You know what I mean?
Well, see, that
Honestly,
to
when
me,
it's something-
I kind of understood that one.
yeah.
Because it's like, it's in the dream world, he's almost like a ghost. You know how in ghost stories or whatever, when you
Yeah.
burn the remains, the ghost goes away.
Oh, well, yeah, or you burn sage or whatever, and
Yeah, yeah.
you're rid of like of demons and stuff like that. I kind of get that, but it's like
Yeah.
obviously you don't defeat or kill Krueger. So to me, it's kind of like
Yeah.
I do like the scene at the end though, where like it kind of takes me to the one Korn music video. I think it was where it follows the bullet. Is that Freaking Unleashed? Yeah, where the holes, like when he's coming, it has all these holes in them.
Oh yeah, he has holes and
lights,
stuff.
and lights and shit. Like well, obviously, like the Korn video has them playing in like a dark area where there's like holes everywhere, and it kind of reminds me of that. I don't know. It's. I know it's fucking.
I never thought you would listen to Korn.
Oh, yeah, I listen to Korn way. I've listened to Korn for a long time. Yeah, really have phenomenal work on music, and I've listened to them probably I'd say for at least 20 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, and also one thing I forgot to mention about favorite moments or whatever. I love how they use the nun throughout the movie, and then you realize it's actually Amanda Krueger at the end.
Yeah, I do like that.
I like that how it kind of all ties around.
Or is it Amanda Krueger's mom? Or
No,
it's not. It is Amanda Krueger. Never mind.
Yeah, it is Amanda Krueger. Because you see the tombstone.
The tombstone, yeah. No, I do like that. It's kind of you kind of have an idea that's probably somebody that knows a little bit about. But yeah, no, I like that aspect too because she's just kind of pretty much like nudging these characters, like nudging the doctor in the right direction. Like, hey, this is what you have to do. You have to go on hallowed ground to do this. But it's funny because hallowed ground. Well, he brings the hallowed ground to him technically with the holy water.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jean Care's on hallowed ground. So, because he just throws the crucifix and the holy water in the junkyard. So, but
which
I mean.
Another funny thing is apparently you can just walk into a church and like just take a cross.
Yeah, but the other funny thing is like when he's chasing the nun and the door's clearly locked, he has to like open. He has to pound it open. Well, then you're thinking, well, how the hell did she get into it? Like that's where my first thing is like, okay, you probably shouldn't be doing this. But again, you just have to rationalize that people in horror movies aren't as smart as us, like watching it. But
yeah, fair.
Yeah, it's still like I said, razor gloves. I think it's a fun film, and I think it is one of the better of the sequels.
All right, so this is where I'm kind of two minds because this is, in my opinion, right now the best of the series, and I believe when we did Nightmare on Elm Street, I gave that a 4.
All right, now how do you walk it back?
I gotta go 4 with this one. 4 out of 4 gloves.
You're so crazy. No, you're good.
What can I say? I mean, it hit me in a way where you care about all these characters, and I was never bored. The movie picks up the pace immediately, and you're right into it with creative depth, great storyline development. John Saxton is just incredible in anything at the end, so that's a positive for me.
Yeah.
The return of Nancy working with Patricia Arquette's character, the whole Amanda Krueger thing was really well done because it's kind of a guide, a nudge in the right direction.
It expands the universe of the Nightmare on Elm
Street. It expands the universe a little bit more. And that's kind of why I kind of wish they wrapped up after 3. It's because like you have the Amanda Krueger thing, you've expanded it, you've got rid of Freddy, you've killed off Nancy, and I think they also killed off John Saxton's character.
Yeah, because John Saxton tells Nancy that he crossed over because he pretty much sacrificed himself kind of to...
Which that was a great scene, too.
Yeah, to protect Nancy. I mean, and he just wanted to apologize for everything in the past. I mean, that was kind of their reunion or their making amends with one another. Yeah.
I mean, there's really nothing in this film that I can think of as a more of a negative.
I mean, like I said, some of the like the special effects are a little bit cheesy, but I mean, you're gonna get those in '80s films no matter what.
Yeah.
They do the best they can with it. I think the end scene with Freddy Krueger getting holes in him, I think is really cool and done well. There's some scenes though that you can tell it looks a little bit green screen, but again, this is what 1986 or was this 86? 87,
84, 85.
No, 84.
87.
It was 87. Yeah, I thought so because it was back end of okay.
Yeah.
I mean, good enough effects, but it's a fun film, you know.
Yeah. So that's my rating. 4 out of 4 razor gloves. All right, Russ. You know what's funny about you talking about A New Nightmare?
Oh my God, you're putting it as your next one, aren't you?
Horror corner.
You son of a bitch. Yeah. I was just gonna go in order, but yeah. Okay, sure, let's do it. Yeah.
Dude, I was trying to hold back my laugh as you were talking about wanting to talk about this. I was like,
it was funny because like,
just skip the rest of them.
I literally have been thinking about this film here has been a while because I remember this came out in like 94, 93, 94-ish.
94, 95, something like that.
But it was one of the ones I really have only seen a couple of times. I haven't seen it a whole lot, so this will be fun to kind of revisit for me. This is kind of like a new movie for me almost because I've seen them all. It's been a while for this one. It's been a long time.
Yeah. So I watched this one for the first time like a year ago, and I loved it because it reminded me so much of Scream.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Wes Craven. I mean, yeah.
This was actually Scream before Scream came out.
Yeah.
This was Wes Craven dipping his toe in the meta horror genre.
Yeah.
So what's funny is the last 2 movies I've picked were almost meta horror.
Yeah, and
Cabin in the Woods and this one.
And then I just kind of go straight horror because I mean I get it though, but I get it though because the films have their you kind of have to appreciate the genre and step back and appreciate the genre too. So
yeah. So my pick for next week: Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. Rush, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you guys can find us on Facebook, Notorious by Chance. Chance Ellis and I do a podcast. You join the group. I think we're at 430 members, I think, at the time of this. We will be shooting tomorrow. We'll be shooting Jurassic Park. Which we're looking forward to that for 90s blockbusters. You can also find us on YouTube, Notorious by Chance. We've still been dormant with that. Really haven't. We talk about bringing it back, like at least doing something with it. I mean, we will, because summer's bringing out these movies, so things getting back to normal, thank God, and we'll be able to talk about movies that come out wide release. So I think that's probably what we're waiting for. Like with the Fast and the Furious coming out and just other films.
That's 9, baby.
They're after trickling throughout the summer, like Black Widow and everything. So it'll be fun. Yeah, you can pretty much find me everywhere else in the trivia community competing.
And right here every week on the HorrorScope podcast.
Absolutely. You can find me, besides the obvious here. But yeah.
We've been, it seems like 2 in a row, man. We're doing this officially.
We're doing it. Yeah, it's nice to push myself a little bit. I guess it was just so hard with committing to another podcast and finding the time to do 2 movies a week. I mean, it's tough to juggle everything with work and family life and everything. But
yeah, definitely.
If I can make this work out, like I said, I really want to because I've wanted to do this. This is something I've always it's always been a passion project, and I'm just glad to kind of take where I review anything to kind of just hone in on one specific genre.
Yeah, definitely, man. All right, guys. So if you did enjoy this, hit that like button, subscribe to Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.